move on to ADHD, my fucking favorite topic. I made a very, I almost want to say tongue-in-cheek. And what was good about this post is it was somewhat satirical. But if you're deeply self-aware, you could kind of see the truths in it. That post that I did the other day about symptoms of ADHD, being a bull in a china shop. You know what I mean? Like the human experience of having that deficit disorder. It's look, ADHD, best way I could describe it to you, it's the original gaydar. That's what it is. It's the original gaydar. Anything that is unnatural to the biological organism gets rejected and swiftly denied. What I mean by that is stupid rules, stupid things in society that are artificial, that have been erected as boundaries or rules, little playgrounds, little playpens that adults can play in. Motherfuckers with ADHD reject. They reject those aspects of society. They reject the bureaucracy. They reject the red tape because your brain simply does not want to do anything that's mundane, anything that's remedial, anything that's trivial, anything that's elementary, anything that's rudimentary. Your body doesn't want to fucking deal with it. And in that way, it actually is a superpower because once you do harp and focus on something that you do care about, you have a greater capacity to focus on it than any motherfucker walking. That's a fact. That's a fact. But when it comes to doing dumb shit like filling out paperwork, waiting at the fucking DMV, kills you. It's a soul-sucking, killing experience. You cannot do it. You will let your room get so untidy, but there's like an OCD component to ADHD that's interesting. Like, let me give you an example. You'll be living in your own mess, right? It's kind of like your own mess. Doesn't mean you're dirty. It means you're untidy. Two very different things. You can be untidy and very clean, okay? You'll be living in your own mess, but you have your own mess under control, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you might look at a stack of papers in your fucking corner of your room right now and you're like, you know what? I know there's a fucking banana peel under that fucking third paper. But an onlooker, an outsider looking at the pile couldn't know that. Like you'll know where everything is within your own mess. That's one of the hallmarks of ADHD is like you have this supreme reign over your environment. You become an absolute fucking control freak. I'm telling you, like you could literally have strewn fucking papers, manila folders, notebooks, color-coded tablets ransacked all over your floor. And you'll be able to tell me, look, on that third page, that shit's there. Like you just have this uncanny hound-like ability to just live within your own mess. But if someone else, if an outsider comes in and interferes with the mess and introduces a new miscellaneous item to the mess, you don't like it. You don't like it because you're a control freak. You're a control freak. I've also noticed motherfuckers with ADHD, and this is kind of another contradiction of opposites here because it's interesting. You could be very athletic, right? You could be extremely coordinated. You could be even an elite athlete. But when I talk about the mundane, I want you to really understand what I mean about the mundane. I'm talking about the efficiency of the way that you move through life, okay? The conservation pattern that you instruct in your life is what I mean by the mundane. So, for example, if you are lurching or lunging forward to go do something, right? Let's say you want to jump in your car and go for a drive. You got somewhere to be. The trajectory from the time you leap out of your fucking chair to get in the car, your spatial awareness as someone with ADHD is going to be really, really fucked. Like, you might fucking clip your shoulder on the side of the fucking counter. You might fucking kick you might literally fucking kick the corner of a fucking chair, stub your toe like 2 times on the way to your car because you're a bull in a china shop. It's like the number one, and you're not going to hear this in a textbook. This is just from my own experimentation and fucking analyzing other motherfuckers with shit like this. You're not going to find this as a symptom, but it's a fact. If you find yourself bumping into shit all the time and it doesn't even faze you, like you walk in through a door jam, hit your shoulder, like I'm not talking crazy. I'm just talking about you're brushing your body against things throughout the day, right? As you're walking. It's because you're so zealous and so fucking fired up and excited to get to your passion or get to the things that you care about that literally time and space even takes a back fucking seat. I know plenty of you know what I'm talking about. You'll be navigating, you'll be walking around a table. You're a highly coordinated athletic motherfucker, but you might fucking clip the fuck out of your fucking side on the corner of a chair multiple times a day. This shit'll be happening. You'll be losing your wallet in the fucking couch cushions. Your keys will go missing 5 times a day. You just chuck them. You walk in, you just chuck them wherever. You just chuck them wherever. Now, look, my theory on the misplacing shit, because I know a lot of guys can relate to this, misplacing little fucking knickknacks and shit that doesn't seem important. I think it is a way of creating manufactured excitement. It's hilarious. Like, look, people that are very gifted, can easily live with ADHD. Most people that are cucked are going to it's going to have a suppressive effect. We just talked about forces of nature. We talked about how nature does its best experiments on men. There are gifted motherfuckers who, if you give them ADHD, it's not going to fucking slow them down a bit at all. Okay. But the thing that I want you to understand the most is people with ADHD, I believe, don't care about the organization of their life, and they don't care about having a key ring and throwing it up. They don't care about organization because for them, the simple excursion of going on the hunt around the house just to find the fucking wallet 4 times a day is like, it gives them life. It's a very purposeless exercise, but what it is it's powering up the coils of energy. So like, someone without it has the opposite effect. They experience lethargy, right? But someone with ADHD is always in that mania. They're always in that manic state. Manic motherfuckers rule the world in 2023. I'm here to tell you this. It's people with mania. You don't ever want to come down from the mania. You don't want to be a manic depressant because the depressant side is miserable. But people who are manic and exploit the fuck out of their manic episodes, they're the ones making all the magic happen in the world right now. So check this out. The body is so clever and intelligent. People with ADHD are typically gifted. Typically they are. Typically they're smarter than average. Losing your shit and constantly having to retrieve and find your own shit 5 times a day, you're whipping yourself up into a frenzy, right? You're creating like a miniature fucking hunt for yourself. By the time you retrieve your keys, you're already up on your feet. You've already been running around the house like a fucking chicken with your head cut off for 5 minutes. You're already moving on to the next task that actually is important. And that's the thing, is people with ADHD need an exciting life to bridge the gaps between the time they sit down to do something important and the time they sit down to do something they don't. So they'll manufacture little dramatic fucking scenarios, like losing their keys 5 times a day. Because an earnest person would look at someone who's talented and gifted and be like, why don't you just get a fucking key ring? Like, why don't you walk in the house and just put it in the same place every day? It's because the person with ADHD isn't interested in that level of organization. They like the thrill. They get a kick out of misplacing shit, right? And that's a very trivial example, but it's not. It's very deep. If you look inside that insight, there's a depth to it, because the way that these people are bridging the gaps from the times that they're bored, look, it's existential boredom. Go read about the Byronic hero. Go read about the Byronic hero. It's an archetype that's spurned out of the philosophy of Lord Byron. And the Byronic hero, the hallmark characteristic is these motherfuckers have existential boredom. Existential boredom. They're so smart. They're so perceptive. They feel that they've beat the game of life. And it's not a monetary thing. It's not even money. They don't need the carnal pleasures or desires that ordinary people don't. They feel like they beat the game of life because they pretty much have the code cracked. They understand the psychology of women. They understand why their friends do what they do. They understand themselves. They have high self-awareness. So it creates this existential boredom, right? Where you just kind of feel like you have everything figured out. Maybe I'll go pick a fight today. Maybe I'll go and do a fucking duel. Maybe I'll gamble today. Shit like that. These pathologies usually develop from gifted motherfuckers who are existentially bored. Existential boredom is something that's very prevalent in 2023. Of course it is. right? Because the society at large, nobody wants to work anymore. Working is pretty much dead. By the way, working hard in America, I know like half a dozen motherfuckers working hard in America. Most people right now are just riding the decline until the fucking wheels fall off. You're these people on Twitter that are giving you this fucking grind porn. Nobody's really working hard anymore. Nobody is. It's a fucking myth. Total fucking myth. Because it's not an edge. We live in a society now where soft power reigns supreme. Hard power doesn't. So like motherfuckers that are trying to fucking I mean, look, you're talking to a guy who believes in the low effort, high risk path. I think that's the hardest, dopest path you can take is the low effort, high risk. I think the high effort, low risk path, like building a company, there's guys that fucking sacrifice 20, 30 years of their life through college and even after building a fucking company from scratch. High effort, low risk. For me, that path has always been whack as fuck. I think that path is actually pretty gay, to be honest. And I understand that it's a necessary part of the ecosystem, right? You obviously need people to build companies so investors can plug their money into. I understand it's a very, very operational, foundational, functional way the world works. So we need people like that. It's just not the path that I ever wanted to go down. So my point in telling you is that I'm a low effort, high risk guy is I have the variance in my life is extremely stark. And I'm experimenting with the idea that I have also developed these personality characteristics at the edges and some of these maladaptations to deal with that life path. And look, I'm under the impression I don't give a fuck what anybody says that no matter what path you take, you're going to end up where you were always going to be anyway. As a man. As a man, your destiny, it really does not matter what path you shove down your throat. It doesn't matter if your parents are forcing a bad path down your throat. It doesn't matter anybody is. You are going to end up at the bottom of the trough where you belong no matter what path you take. It's just a matter of how much wisdom you want to extract along the way. It's what it really boils down to.